When 10-year-old Matteo Rivera posted a video explaining how to improve Tesla's battery design, he never expected it would catch the attention of Elon Musk himself. The tech billionaire was stunned and suspicious. How could a child know proprietary details about Tesla's technology? Determined to uncover the truth, Elon demanded a face-to-face meeting with the young genius. What he discovered would not only change Matteo's life forever, but would unearth a forgotten legacy that would leave everyone at Tesla and SpaceX in complete shock. The morning sun peeked through the blinds of Elon Musk's modern Austin home. He was already awake, as usual. Sleep wasn't something he needed much of, not with so many companies to run and ideas buzzing in his head. Elon sat on the edge of his bed, his hair slightly messy, scrolling through his phone. This was his morning routine. Check emails, news, and social media before the world demanded his full attention. His fingers moved quickly across the screen as he scanned headlines about Tesla stock prices and SpaceX's latest rocket test. Then he saw it. A video that one of his engineers had forwarded to him late last night with the message, "You need to see this." The thumbnail showed a young boy with dark curly hair and serious brown eyes standing in front of a hand-drawn diagram of what looked like a Tesla battery pack. The title read, "10-year-old explains how to fix Tesla's battery problem." Elon's eyebrows shot up. "What is this?" he muttered, tapping the video. The boy appeared on screen, speaking with surprising confidence. "Hi, I'm Matteo Rivera from El Paso, Texas. Today, I want to talk about how Tesla could improve their battery design." Elon's thumb hovered over the screen, ready to stop the video. Kids made videos about his companies all the time, but something in the boy's confident tone made him keep watching. The boy continued, "The current design has three main problems." He pointed to his drawing, which Elon now realized was surprisingly detailed and accurate. First, the cooling channels are too narrow here and here, which causes hotspots during fast charging. Elon sat up straighter. That was a real issue his team had been working on. Second, the boy continued, the connection points between cells create resistance that could be reduced by changing the alloy composition. He showed another diagram with chemical formulas that made Elon lean closer to his phone screen. And third, the most important problem is the way the cells are arranged. The boy moved to a larger drawing. If Tesla changed the pattern to this design instead, they could fit 8% more cells in the same space and improve cooling by 12%. Elon's mouth fell open slightly. The design the boy was showing looked remarkably similar to something his advanced battery team had only started testing last month. It was still top secret. His heart began to race. Was this a security breach? Had someone leaked confidential designs? The boy kept talking, pointing out details that only someone with deep knowledge of battery engineering would know. But he wasn't just repeating information. He was suggesting improvements that actually made sense. If Mr. Musk made these changes, the smiling boy concluded, Tesla could increase range by almost 15% and reduce charging time by 20% without changing the battery size. Thanks for watching my science project video. The video ended, but Elon didn't move. He played it again, then a third time. By the fifth viewing, his initial shock had turned to a mix of emotions, confusion, suspicion, and if he was honest with himself, a touch of anger. How did this kid know these things? The cooling issue wasn't public knowledge. The cell arrangement design was still in early testing. And that alloy suggestion, Elon had seen something similar in a research paper that wasn't widely published. He checked the video stats. 2.7 million views in just 2 days. The comments section was exploding. This kid is smarter than most engineers. I know. Tesla should hire him immediately. Elon, are you seeing this? Elon ran a hand through his hair and stood up, pacing across his bedroom. He grabbed his phone again and called his chief of staff. Sarah, good morning. Have you seen this video of a kid talking about our battery design? Yes, it's everywhere, Sarah replied. The team is asking if we should respond. Who is this boy? Mateo Rivera? Elon asked, ignoring her question. We don't know much yet. He Chihuahua appears to be actually 10 years old, lives in El Paso with his mother. No obvious connections to anyone in the industry that we can find. Elon walked to his window, looking out at the Texas landscape. Find out everything you can about him and contact his mother. I want to meet this kid. Meet him? Are you sure? Yes, Elon cut her off. Arrange it as soon as possible. We need to know how he has this information. This could cause quite a stir in the media if— I don't care, Elon said, his voice firm. Either this is a serious security leak or— He paused, not finishing his thought. Or what? Sarah asked. Elon stared at the paused video on his phone, at the boy's bright, confident smile. Or we've got a very interesting situation on our hands. Just set it up. After ending the call, Elon watched the video one more time. There was something about the way the boy spoke. Not just repeating facts, but showing real understanding. It reminded him of himself at that age, taking apart computers and rebuilding them, asking questions that adults couldn't answer. A part of him was still suspicious. Another part was curious. And deep down, though he wouldn't admit it yet, a tiny part was impressed. He tapped his phone, freezing the video on Mateo's face. The boy was pointing at his diagram, his eyes bright with excitement about his ideas. All right, Mateo Rivera, Elon said to the empty room. Let's find out who you really are and how you know so much about my batteries. He set down his phone and headed to the shower. The day ahead would be busy with meetings and decisions affecting thousands of employees and billions in company value. But his mind kept returning to the boy's video. One way or another, he would get to the bottom of this mystery. The morning sun beat down on the dusty playground of Lincoln Elementary School in El Paso, Texas. Kids ran and shouted during recess, but Mateo Rivera sat alone under a mesquite tree, his science notebook open on his lap. His pencil moved quickly across the page as he sketched another battery design. Hey, science boy, still drawing your robot pictures? Mateo looked up to see Dylan and his friends approaching. He closed his notebook quickly. They're not robot pictures, Mateo said quietly. They're energy storage systems. Dylan grabbed the notebook before Mateo could stop him. Energy storage systems, he mimicked, flipping through the pages. Why can't you just play kickball like a normal kid? Give it back, please, Mateo said, standing up. He wasn't tall for his age, with skinny arms and legs that his mom said he would grow into someday. What's going on here? Ms. Patel's voice came from behind them. She was young for a teacher, with kind eyes behind colorful glasses that matched her bright clothes. Nothing, Dylan said, dropping the notebook on the ground. We were just talking. As they walked away, Ms. Patel sat beside Mateo. You okay? Mateo nodded, brushing dirt off his notebook. I'm fine. They don't understand what I'm working on. And what exactly are you working on today? She asked with a smile. Mateo hesitated, then opened his notebook. I'm trying to improve my battery design. I think I made a mistake in the video about the cooling channels. Ms. Patel's eyes widened. Your science project video, the one you posted online? Yeah. Mateo shrugged. But it's not a big deal. Ms. Patel put her hand on his shoulder. Mateo, your mom called the school this morning. That video has gone viral. Millions of people have seen it. Mateo's mouth fell open. Millions? But I just posted it for our science project. I thought maybe a few hundred people might see it. The bell rang, signaling the end of recess. As they walked back to class, Ms. Patel said, Your mind works differently than most people's, Mateo. That's a gift. Don't let anyone make you feel bad about it. Inside, Mateo couldn't focus on the math lesson. His mind kept jumping between excitement about his video and worry about what his mom would say. Sophia had been working night shifts at the hospital all week. She'd been too tired to check his science project before he posted it. When the final bell rang, Mateo rushed outside to where his mom usually picked him up. Her old blue Honda was already waiting, which was strange since she normally came right at 3:30 after her shift ended. He could see her talking on the phone, looking more animated than she had in months. When she saw him, she waved urgently. "Mateo, hurry!" she called, ending her call. "What's wrong, Mom?" he asked, climbing into the car. "Are you mad about my video?" Sofia Rivera looked at her son with wide eyes. Her dark hair was pulled back in a messy ponytail, and she was still wearing her nurse's scrubs. "Mad? No, mijo, I'm shocked." She shook her head. "When did you even make this? How do you know all these things about Tesla?" Mateo looked down at his hands. "From Dad's books and stuff, and I watch a lot of videos online. Is it bad that so many people saw it?" Sophia took a deep breath. "Mateo, do you know who just called me? Twice?" He shook his head. "Someone from Elon Musk's office." She said it slowly, as if she still couldn't believe it. "They want us to meet with him at SpaceX in Boca Chica." Mateo felt like all the air had left his lungs. "Elon Musk? The Elon Musk? Wants to meet me?" "Yes. And I don't know if that's a good thing or not." Sophia started the car, her hands slightly shaking. "They're sending a car for us tomorrow." "Tomorrow?" Mateo squeaked. "But why?" "They wouldn't say exactly. Just that Mr. Musk saw your video and wants to discuss it with you personally." She bit her lip. "I'm not sure what to do, Mateo." "We have to go," Mateo said, his voice rising with excitement. "Mom, this is Elon Musk, Dad's hero, my hero." Sophia's eyes softened at the mention of Mateo's father. Antonio had been gone for 3 years now, but sometimes it felt like yesterday. The truck accident had taken him so suddenly, leaving her alone, with their brilliant son who reminded her more of Antonio every day. "I know, mijo, but I'm worried. Why would someone like him want to meet a 10-year-old boy? What if he's angry about what you said in your video?" Mateo hadn't thought of that. His excitement dimmed a little. When they got home, Mateo went straight to his room, really just a corner of their small apartment partitioned off with bookshelves. The shelves were packed with science books, old electronics, and his dad's engineering notebooks that Mateo had read over and over until the pages were soft at the edges. He pulled out his tablet and found his video. The view count now showed 3.5 million. The comments had exploded. "Is this kid for real? Someone get this boy a job at Tesla. Elon's gonna want to talk to this kid." That last comment made Mateo's stomach twist. He hadn't thought about Elon Musk actually seeing his video when he made it. He'd just been excited to share what he'd learned, to show Ms. Patel that he'd done extra research for the science fair. His EU phone buzzed with a text from his best friend Leon. "Dude, your video is everywhere. My dad says Elon Musk might sue you." Mateo's heart raced. Could he get in trouble for this? He texted back, "Elon's office called my mom. They want to meet tomorrow. Leon's response was immediate. What? Don't go. What if he steals your ideas? Or what if he's mad? Matteo hadn't considered that someone might steal his ideas. They weren't really his ideas anyway. They were just things he'd figured out from reading and watching videos, and from his dad's old notes. That night, after a quiet dinner, Sophia sat next to Matteo on his bed. I called work. They're giving me tomorrow off. She brushed his curly hair from his forehead. If we're going to do this, we need to be prepared. What exactly did you say in that video? Matteo explained as best he could, trying to use simple words so his mom would understand. When he finished, Sophia looked even more worried. How do you know all this, Matteo? Really? Matteo pointed to his dad's notebooks on the shelf. It's all there, Mom. Dad knew this stuff. I just put it together differently. Sophia nodded slowly. Get some sleep. We have a long bus ride tomorrow. But as Matteo lay in bed that night, sleep was impossible. His mind raced with questions. What would Elon Musk be like? Would he be angry? Would he ask hard questions? And most importantly, would Matteo be able to answer them? Morning came too quickly. Matteo had barely slept, his mind spinning with thoughts about meeting Elon Musk. He packed his backpack with his notebook, his tablet, and his father's old calculator that he took everywhere. Should I bring Dad's notebooks? Matteo asked, holding one of the worn journals. Sophia shook her head. Not this time, mijo. Let's just go and listen to what Mr. Musk has to say first. The phone call from yesterday still felt unreal to both of them. A woman named Sarah had explained that Mr. Musk was intrigued by Matteo's video and wanted to meet him at the SpaceX facility in Boca Chica. When Sophia asked why, Sarah had only said, Mr. Musk has some questions about Matteo's battery design. Ideas. Now, as they waited at the bus station, Sophia kept checking her phone. They said they'd send a car, she muttered. But I didn't want to wait. Better to get there on our own. What if he's mad at me? Matteo asked, voicing his biggest fear. Sophia squeezed his hand. Then we leave. No one gets to be mean to my son. Not even Elon Musk. The bus arrived, and they found seats near the back. It would be a 6-hour ride from El Paso to Brownsville, and then they'd need to find transportation to Boca Chica. Sophia had used most of their emergency money for the tickets. As the bus pulled away, Matteo's phone buzzed with texts from Leon. Did you leave yet? My dad says be careful. What if it's a trap? Matteo smiled. Leon had a wild imagination and watched too many movies. He texted back, on the bus now, we'll let you know what happens. But Leon's words stuck in his head. What if Elon Musk was angry? What if this was a bad idea? The desert landscape rushed by outside the window. Matteo tried to distract himself by reading a book about Mars that he'd downloaded, but he couldn't focus. Instead, he found himself opening the YouTube app and watching his video again. Looking at it now, he noticed mistakes he hadn't seen before. He'd mispronounced some scientific terms. His drawing of the battery pack wasn't quite right in some places. What if Elon pointed these out? What if he laughed at him? You're worrying too much, Sophia said, noticing his frown. Just be yourself. Tell the truth. That's all anyone can. Ask, but what if I don't know the answers? Then you say, I don't know. There's no shame in that. Halfway through the journey, they stopped at a small station. While Sophia bought them sandwiches, Matteo checked his email. There was a new message from someone called jmartinez@spacex.com. Hi, Matteo. I'm Jasmine from SpaceX. Mr. Musk mentioned, you're visiting today. We're looking forward to meeting you. I've sent a car to pick you up at the Brownsville bus station. The driver will have a sign with your name. Mateo showed the email to his mom when she returned. They're sending a car, after all, she said, looking relieved. At least we won't have to figure out how to get to Boca Chica. As they continued their journey, Sophia fell asleep, her head resting against the window. Mateo couldn't sleep. He kept thinking about all the questions Elon might ask him. How did you learn about battery technology? Where did you get the information? About our cooling design? Why did you post the video? He rehearsed his answers in his head. He would tell the truth, that he learned from books, videos, and his dad's old notes, that he didn't know it was secret information, that he just wanted to share his ideas. Would that be enough? The bus arrived in Brownsville late in the afternoon. Sophia and Mateo stepped off, tired and stiff from the long ride. Just as the email had promised, a man in a black suit stood holding a sign that read, Mateo Rivera. That's me, Mateo said shyly. The man smiled. Welcome, Mr. Rivera. And you must be Mrs. Rivera. I'm Carlos. Mr. Musk sent me to drive you to Starbase. It's about a 30-minute drive. Mateo's heart skipped a beat at hearing the word Starbase. That was what they called the SpaceX facility. In Boca Chica, Carlos led them to a sleek Tesla Model X. Mateo ran his hand along the smooth surface, excitement temporarily replacing his nervousness. Have you been in a Tesla before? Carlos asked. Mateo shook his head. No, but I've read all about them. As they drove, Carlos explained that they would be staying at a hotel near Starbase tonight and meeting with Mr. Musk tomorrow morning. He's very busy today with a rocket test, Carlos said, but he specifically requested to meet with Mateo first thing tomorrow. Sophia looked relieved at the delay. That gives us time to rest and prepare. The landscape changed as they drove, becoming more coastal. Eventually, they turned onto a road with a sign that read, SpaceX Starbase, authorized personnel only. Carlos flashed an ID card at a security checkpoint, and they were waved through. Mateo pressed his face to the window. In the distance, he could see massive rocket parts and construction equipment. Workers in hard hats moved around the site, and there, towering above everything, was a huge silver rocket. Is that a starship? Mateo gasped. Carlos nodded. Yes, they're preparing for a test tomorrow. We'll see it up close? Mateo couldn't believe it. Mr. Musk arranged for you to have a tour in the morning before you meet with him. They drove past the main facility and continued to a small hotel nearby. As they checked in, Mateo noticed people looking at them curiously. A woman whispered to her companion and pointed at him. Mom, he whispered. I think people recognize me. Sophia looked around nervously. Let's just get to our room. In their hotel room, Sophia called her supervisor at the hospital to explain they might need another day off. Mateo sat on the bed, scrolling through more comments on his video. The count was now over 4 million views. A new notification popped up. Someone had posted an article titled, Who is the boy genius challenging Elon Musk? With his school picture, Mateo's stomach tightened. He showed his mom. How did they get your picture? She asked, worried. Probably from the school website, Mateo said. Does this mean I'm famous? Sophia sat beside him. For a moment, maybe. But fame isn't always good, Mateo. That night, Mateo stood at the hotel window, looking out at the distant lights of Starbase. Somewhere out there was Elon Musk, the man his father had admired so much, the man who wanted to meet him tomorrow. Dad would be so excited, he whispered to himself. But as he climbed into bed, the same question returned. Would he be able to answer Elon's questions? Or would he disappoint everyone? Morning arrived with the sound of distant rocket engines. Matteo jumped out of bed and ran to the window. In the early light, he could see activity around the massive Starship rocket. "Mom, they're doing engine tests," he called out. Sophia emerged from the bathroom, already dressed. "Breakfast first, rocket second," she said firmly. "We need to be ready. Carlos is picking us up in an hour." They ate in the hotel lobby, where Matteo noticed more people glancing their way. A man in a SpaceX jacket approached their table. "Excuse me," he said. "Are you the battery kid from the video?" Matteo nodded shyly. The man grinned. "My team was talking about your ideas yesterday. Pretty impressive stuff." He gave Matteo a SpaceX patch. "Good luck with the boss today." As the man walked away, Sophia leaned forward. "See? Not everyone thinks you did something wrong." That made Matteo feel a little better, but his stomach still twisted with nervousness. Carlos arrived in the Tesla exactly on time. "Ready for your big day?" he asked cheerfully. During the short drive to Starbase, Matteo pressed his face against the window, taking in everything. The rising Texas sun cast long shadows from the launch towers and fuel tanks. Workers moved purposefully. Around the site, some driving trucks loaded with equipment, others gathered in groups studying tablets and blueprints. "It's like a small city," Sophia remarked. "It practically is," Carlos replied. "This is where humanity's journey to Mars begins." He pulled up to a modern building with the SpaceX logo. "This is the Welcome Center. Someone will meet you here." If on cue, a woman with short dark hair and a SpaceX polo shirt came out of the building. She had a warm smile and a tablet in her hand. "Matteo and Sofia Rivera," she asked, extending her hand. "I'm Jasmine Martinez, one of the engineers here. I sent you that email yesterday." "Nice to meet you," Sophia said, shaking her hand. "Thank you for arranging everything." "My pleasure," Jasmine replied. "Mr. Musk asked me to give you a tour before your meeting with him at 11:00. She looked at her watch. "That gives us about 2 hours to see some cool rockets. Sound good?" Matteo nodded eagerly, his anxiety temporarily forgotten. "Great. Let's start with the basics. You'll need these." She handed them visitor badges and safety glasses. "Always keep these on while you're here." The tour began with a view of the launch pad where the massive Starship stood. Matteo bombarded Jasmine with questions. How many Raptor engines does this version have? What fuel mixture are you using? Has the heat shield design changed since the last test? Jasmine answered patiently, sometimes looking surprised by the depth of his questions. "You really know your stuff," she said. "Most kids ask if the astronauts wear diapers in space." That made Matteo laugh, his first real laugh since the journey began. As they entered a building housing rocket parts, Jasmine lowered her voice. "So, that video you made about the Tesla batteries? Pretty bold move." Matteo's smile faded. "Is Mr. Musk angry about it?" Jasmine considered this. "Let's just say he had a lot of questions when he saw it. He actually called a meeting with the battery team right after watching it." "Is that bad?" Sophia asked, concerned. "Not necessarily," Jasmine said carefully. "Mr. Musk values intelligence and fresh perspectives, but he also likes to challenge people's ideas. Directly." They continued through the facility, seeing rocket, engines being assembled, massive fuel tanks, and computers where engineers monitored tests. Matteo absorbed everything, asking thoughtful questions that sometimes made even Jasmine pause. "That's actually a really good question," she said after Matteo asked about a specific cooling system. "We've been debating that exact issue." What Matteo didn't know was that Elon Musk was watching them through the facility's security cameras. From his office, he observed the boy's reactions, noted his questions, and studied his interactions with Jasmine. "What do you think?" Elon asked his chief of staff, Sarah, who stood beside him. "He seems like a normal, curious kid," she replied. "Smart, definitely. But I'm not seeing any obvious signs that he's getting information from a competitor." Elon nodded, his expression thoughtful. "Let's see how he does with more technical questions." As the tour neared its end, Jasmine led them to a conference room with glass walls overlooking the rocket assembly area. "We'll wait here for Mr. Musk." Sophia sat down, looking tired from all the walking. Matteo stood by the window, watching workers weld large metal pieces. "Jasmine," Matteo asked suddenly, "do you think I did something wrong with my video?" Jasmine smiled gently. "No, Matteo. I think you shared ideas that got people's attention. That's never wrong." She checked her phone. "Mr. Musk should be here soon. I should warn you, he can be very direct." "What does that mean?" Sophia asked. "It means he doesn't waste time with small talk. He'll say exactly what he's thinking." Just then, the door opened. Matteo's heart nearly stopped as Elon Musk walked in. He was taller than Matteo expected, wearing a simple black t-shirt with the SpaceX logo and dark pants. His expression was serious as his eyes immediately found Matteo. "So you're the boy who thinks he knows more about batteries than my engineers?" Elon said, his voice filling the suddenly silent room. Matteo's mouth went dry. He could feel his mom tensing beside him. Jasmine looked uncomfortable. I don't think I know more," Matteo managed to say. "I just had some ideas." Elon stared at him for a long moment, then gestured to the table. "Sit down. I have questions." Sophia stepped forward protectively. "Mr. Musk, he's just a child who somehow knows details about proprietary technology," Elon interrupted. "I need to understand how." Jasmine cleared her throat. "I'll leave you to talk." "No, stay," Elon said. "I want your technical input on this." They all sat at the table. Matteo felt like his heart was going to burst from his chest. "Let's start simple," Elon said, leaning forward. "Matteo, how old are you?" "10, sir. Almost 11 next month." "And you live in El Paso with your mother?" Elon glanced at Sophia. "Yes, sir." "Do you have any family members or friends who work in the automotive or battery industry?" Matteo hesitated, thinking of his father. "My dad. He used to work with machines. But he died 3 years ago." Something flickered in Elon's eyes. A brief softening, but it vanished quickly. "I'm sorry to hear that," he said. Then, getting back to business, "In your video, you mentioned cooling channel designs that are remarkably similar to our latest prototypes. How did you learn about those?" Matteo swallowed hard. This was it. The moment of truth. Would his answers be enough? Or would he disappoint everyone, including the ghost of his father who had admired this man so much? Matteo took a deep breath. "I learned about cooling systems from books and videos," he began, his voice small but steady. "And my dad's old notebooks. He used to explain how things work. I just notice patterns." Elon's eyes narrowed. "What kind of notebooks?" "Engineering journals." He kept notes on everything he read or thought about. Elon exchanged glances with Jasmine. "That doesn't explain how you knew about designs we haven't made public." Sophia reached for Matteo's hand under the table. He squeezed it, drawing strength from her. "I didn't know they were secret," Matteo said. "I just looked at the current design and thought about problems that might happen when batteries get hot." Heat always follows the path of least resistance. So I figured the coolant should too. Elon leaned back, studying Matteo's face. "Follow me," he said suddenly, standing up. He led them down a hallway to a large room with whiteboards covering the walls. Engineers were working at desks, but they all looked up when Elon entered. A few whispered when they saw Matteo. "Everyone out," Elon commanded. Except Dr. Chen. The engineers quickly left. A man in his 50s with glasses and a serious expression remained. Dr. Marcus Chen, our lead battery researcher. Elon introduced. "Marcus, this is Matteo Rivera, the boy from the video." Dr. Chen didn't smile. "Yes, I've seen it." Elon pointed to a whiteboard. "I want to test your understanding, Matteo. Not just what you memorized from videos or notes." Sophia stepped forward. "Mr. Musk, this isn't what we agreed to. Matteo is just a child." "A child who claims to understand complex engineering principles," Dr. Chen remarked. "I didn't claim anything," Matteo said, feeling tears threatening. "I just shared my ideas. Ideas that happen to match our confidential designs," Dr. Chen said. Elon held up a hand. "Let's see what he actually knows." He erased the whiteboard and drew a simple battery diagram. "Matteo, explain what happens when this battery charges too." Quickly. Matteo looked at the diagram. Despite his nervousness, his mind clicked into the familiar patterns he loved. "The resistance creates heat here and here," he said, pointing. "If it gets too hot, the materials can break down and cause a fire." "And how would you prevent that?" Elon asked. Matteo picked up a marker, hesitated, then began drawing. "You could make cooling channels that follow the hottest paths. Like this." Dr. Chen raised his eyebrows as Matteo's small hand sketched a design. "And what material would you use for the channel walls?" Elon pressed. Matteo thought about this. "Something that conducts heat well but not electricity. Aluminum would work, but it's heavy. Maybe a ceramic composite." Dr. Chen looked surprised. "That's correct." For the next hour, Elon and Dr. Chen took turns asking Matteo questions. They moved from basic principles to more complex problems. Sometimes Matteo knew the answers immediately. Other times, he had to think, occasionally admitting, "I don't know that one." Sophia watched anxiously from a chair in the corner. Jasmine stayed too, sometimes explaining terms to Sophia in whispers. "He's doing really well," Jasmine reassured her. Most engineering graduates couldn't answer these questions. The questioning continued. Elon drew a new diagram. "What's the biggest weakness in this battery pack design?" Matteo studied it. "The connections between cells will heat unevenly because they're not the same distance from the cooling element." Dr. Chen looked at Elon, who nodded slightly. "And how would you fix that?" Dr. Chen asked. Matteo took the marker again. "You could stagger the cells like this." He drew quickly, his confidence growing. "Then add cooling here and here." As he finished his drawing, several engineers who had been watching through the glass walls began to whisper excitedly. Dr. Chen studied the diagram. "This is similar to an approach we've been considering." Elon turned to a computer in the room. "Let's see how this compares to our latest model." He pulled up a 3D rendering that looked remarkably like what Matteo had just drawn. The room fell silent. "Did I get it right?" Matteo asked. "Too right," Dr. Chen said, his suspicion returning. "This design isn't public knowledge. It's just left the research phase." Matteo's eyes widened. "I didn't know, I promise." Elon studied him carefully. "One more test." He opened another file on the computer. "This is a problem we've been stuck on for months. The battery management system keeps overheating in extreme conditions. He showed Matteo a complex diagram of circuits and cooling systems. "Take your time." Matteo stared at the screen, momentarily overwhelmed. The design was far more complicated than anything he'd seen before. He felt everyone watching him, waiting for him to fail. "It's okay if you don't." "No," Sophia said gently. "No one expects—" "Wait," Matteo said, seeing something in the design. "The problem might be here." He pointed to a section of the diagram. "The sensors are reading the average temperature, not the hottest spots." Dr. Chen leaned closer. "Go on. If this part gets too hot before the sensors notice, it could damage the whole system," Matteo continued, tracing the path with his finger. "You need more sensors here and here, or maybe change how the controller responds." Dr. Chen looked stunned. That's exactly the issue we identified last week." Even Elon seemed surprised. "How did you figure that out so quickly?" Matteo shrugged. "It reminds me of a problem my dad explained once with a car engine. The coolant gauge showed normal, but one part could still overheat." Something in Elon's expression changed. The hard, suspicious look softened just slightly. "Who exactly was your father, Matteo?" he asked. "Antonio Rivera," Sophia answered. "He was a mechanic, but he studied engineering books all the time. He loved learning how things work." "Did he ever work in the battery industry?" Dr. Chen asked. Sophia shook her head. "He fixed cars at a garage in El Paso, but he talked about batteries and electric cars all the time. He believed they were the future." Elon walked to the window, looking out at the rockets in the distance. The room fell silent as everyone waited for his verdict. Finally, he turned back. "I believe you, Matteo." Relief washed over Matteo's face. "You do?" Sophia asked, surprised by the sudden change. "Yes. No industrial spy would send their child to reveal stolen secrets in a YouTube video," Elon said with a hint of a smile. "And no child could fake the understanding Matteo just demonstrated." Dr. Chen still looked uncertain. "But how does he know these things? Some of these solutions took our team months to develop." "Sometimes fresh eyes see what experts miss," Elon said. "Especially eyes not limited by conventional thinking." He looked at Matteo with new interest. "How would you like to see the rest of our facility? The parts tourists never get to visit." Matteo's eyes widened. "Really?" "Really," Elon confirmed. "I think we have a lot more to talk about." As they left the room, Elon fell into step beside Sophia. "Your son is remarkable," he said quietly. "I've never seen a child with this level of intuitive understanding." "He gets it from his father," she replied. "Antonio could look at a broken engine and just know what was wrong." Ahead of them, Jasmine was showing Matteo a rocket component, his earlier fear now replaced with excitement. "I'd like to know more about Antonio Rivera," Elon said. "And these notebooks Matteo mentioned." Sophia nodded slowly. "What happens now? With Matteo's video and everything?" Elon watched the boy pointing at rocket parts, asking Jasmine questions. "That depends on what we learn about each other over lunch," he said. "I have a feeling this is just the beginning." Lunch was served in a private room with large windows overlooking the launch pad. Matteo couldn't stop staring at the massive starship, rocket in the distance. It seemed unreal that just yesterday he had been in school in El Paso, and now he was having lunch with Elon Musk. The table was set with simple food, sandwiches, fruit, and drinks. Jasmine joined them, along with Sarah, Elon's chief of staff. "So, Matteo," Elon said as they began eating, "tell me more about yourself." Matteo looked at his mom, who nodded encouragingly. "I'm in 5th grade at Lincoln Elementary," he began. "I like soccer and video games, and science, obviously. Obviously, Elon agreed with a small smile. And how did you get interested in Tesla's battery technology specifically? Sophia answered. His father was obsessed with your companies. He followed everything about Tesla and SpaceX. Antonio would read every article, watch every video, she continued, her voice softening at the memories. He'd explain it all to Matteo, even when he was too young to really understand. I understood some of it, Matteo protested. Sophia smiled. At him. Yes, you did. More than we realized. She turned back to Elon. After Antonio died, Matteo started reading all his books and notes. I think it was his way of staying connected to his father. What happened to your husband? Sarah asked gently. Sophia's eyes dropped to her plate. A truck accident. 3 years. Ago. He was a mechanic at Garcia's auto shop. A brake system he was fixing failed during a test drive. I'm sorry, Elon said, and he seemed to mean it. After that, Matteo changed, Sophia continued. He was always smart, but he became focused. He'd stay up late reading Antonio's engineering books. I'd find him asleep with his father's notebooks. These notebooks, Elon said, leaning forward. What exactly did they contain? Everything Dad thought about, Matteo explained. He wrote down ideas about cars, rockets, batteries, solar panels. He drew diagrams and did calculations. He never went to college, Sophia added, but he was always learning. He took free online courses, watched lectures. He said someday he'd work for SpaceX or Tesla. A look passed between Elon and Sarah. And the video that went viral, Elon said, turning to Matteo. What made you decide to post that? Matteo's cheeks flushed. It was for school. Ms. Patel, my science teacher, said we should make videos about something we're interested in. I picked Tesla batteries because... He hesitated. Because what? Elon prompted. Because Dad always said they were the most important. Technology for saving the planet, Matteo finished. He said Mr. Musk was doing the most important work in the world. Something flickered in Elon's eyes. Surprise, perhaps even embarrassment at the admiration. I didn't think many people would see it, Matteo continued. Maybe my class and some science teachers. I didn't mean to cause trouble. You didn't cause trouble, Elon said. You caused interest. Our engineers have been debating your video since it appeared. Really? Matteo's eyes widened. Really? Some thought it was a security leak. Others thought it might be a competitor trying to figure out if they were on the right track. Elon took a drink of water. No one guessed it was just a smart kid with a good eye for engineering problems. And his father's notebooks, Sarah added. Yes, Elon said thoughtfully. I'd very much like to see those notebooks sometime. Sophia tensed slightly. They're very personal to us. They're one of the few things we have left of Antonio. Of course, Elon said. I understand. The conversation shifted to other topics. Elon asked about Matteo's school, his friends, what he liked to do for fun. Matteo gradually relaxed, his initial fear of Elon fading. Do you have any questions for me? Elon asked Matteo. Thousands, Matteo admitted, making everyone laugh. Start with one. Matteo thought for a moment. Why do you want to go to Mars so badly? It wasn't the technical question Elon had expected. He looked out the window at the Starship rocket and was quiet for a moment. To make life multiplanetary, he finally said, to ensure humanity's survival. But also because it's there, Matteo added. Elon looked at him, surprised. What do you mean? Dad used to say you wanted to go to Mars, partly because it's the hardest thing humans could possibly do right now. He said you like solving the hardest problems. A genuine smile spread across Elon's face. Your father understood me well, it seems. After lunch, Jasmine took Mateo to see more of the facility, while Elon spoke privately with Sophia and Sarah. Your son is extraordinary, Elon said once Mateo was out of earshot. His understanding of complex systems is at least at a college level, possibly beyond. He's always been smart, Sophia said. But since his father died, it's like he's trying to learn everything Antonio knew, and more. What are your plans for his education? Sarah asked. Sophia sighed. The regular public school doesn't challenge him enough, but private schools are expensive, and I work long hours as a nurse. Have you considered special programs for gifted children? Elon asked. There's nothing like that in El Paso that we can afford, Sophia admitted. I've been saving for college, but that's years away. Elon looked thoughtful as he stared out the window. Mateo could be seen in the distance, pointing excitedly at something. Jasmine was showing him. I might have a proposition for you both, he said slowly. But first, I need to make a call. He stepped away, phone in hand, leaving Sophia with Sarah. Is he always so intense? Sophia asked. Sarah smiled. Always. But I haven't seen him this interested in someone's ideas in a long time. Especially not someone Mateo's age. Through the window, they could see Elon pacing as he talked on the phone, gesturing occasionally. When he returned, his expression was decisive. I've made a decision about the kid, he announced. Sophia tensed at Elon's words. What kind of decision? Before Elon could answer, the door opened and Mateo burst in with Jasmine. Mom, they let me see inside a Raptor engine. His eyes were bright with excitement. And Jasmine says they're working on a new kind of rocket that might go to Mars in 5 years. 6 to 8 years, most likely, Jasmine corrected with a smile. But he's got the basic idea right. Elon watched Mateo with an evaluating gaze. How would you like to see something even fewer people have seen? Mateo's eyes widened. What is it? A project we don't talk about publicly yet. Elon looked at Sophia. With your permission, of course. Sophia hesitated. Will it take long? We need to catch our bus back to El Paso this evening. You're welcome to stay another night, Sarah offered. We can arrange accommodations, Sophia shook her head. I have a shift at the hospital tomorrow. Afternoon. We need to get back. We'll have you on a private flight to El Paso by evening, Elon said. But first, I'd like Mateo's input on something. My input? Mateo looked shocked. On what? You'll see. Elon stood. It's not far from here. They followed him through secured doors, down hallways where people worked at computers or huddled around whiteboards filled with equations. Everyone seemed too busy to notice them passing by, though a few people nodded respectfully to Elon. Finally, they reached a door marked Project Habitat, authorized personnel only. Elon placed his hand on a scanner, and the door opened to reveal a large room with a high ceiling. In the center stood what looked like a section of a space station, a cylindrical module with various systems attached to its exterior. Engineers moved around it, taking measurements and making adjustments. This is our Mars habitat prototype, Elon explained. The place where the first humans on Mars will live. Mateo's mouth fell open. He had seen drawings of Mars habitats in books and online, but never a real one being built. We're having some issues with it, Elon continued. The life support systems aren't quite working as expected. Why show this to us? Sophia asked, confused. Because sometimes fresh eyes see solutions others miss, Elon replied. And your son has already demonstrated an unusual talent for solving engineering problems. One of the engineers approached them, frowning when he saw Mateo. He was tall with gray hair at his temples and wire-rimmed glasses. "Mr. Musk, is this wise?" he asked quietly, though everyone could hear him. "This is a classified project." "Dr. Chen, you saw what he did with the battery problem," Elon replied. "I want to see if he has any insights here." Dr. Chen looked skeptical. "He's a child. A child who solved a problem your team has been stuck on for months," Elon countered. Dr. Chen's frown deepened, but he nodded stiffly. Elon led them closer to the habitat module. "This will eventually be part of a larger structure on Mars, but right now, we're having trouble with the oxygen recycling system." He explained how the system was designed to convert carbon dioxide back into breathable oxygen, a critical function for any Mars habitat where supplies from Earth would be limited. "The chemical process works in theory, but in our tests, the oxygen levels keep dropping after about 2 weeks," Elon said. "We can't figure out why." "May I?" Matteo asked, pointing to a tablet an engineer was holding that showed diagrams of the system. The engineer looked to Elon, who nodded. He handed the tablet to Matteo. Matteo studied the diagrams carefully, scrolling through different screens. The room grew quiet as engineers stopped their work to watch the small boy examining their project. "What happens to the water vapor?" Matteo finally asked. Dr. Chen stepped forward. "It's condensed and recycled back into the water supply." "But where?" Matteo persisted. "I don't see a condenser in this part of the system." Dr. Chen took the tablet and pulled up another diagram. "Here, the condenser is located after the filtration unit." Matteo studied it, then shook his head. "But that means any oxygen dissolved in the water vapor gets trapped there, doesn't it? It never goes back into the air." The room fell silent. Dr. Chen stared at the diagram, then at Matteo. "That's a possibility we hadn't considered," he admitted reluctantly. Another engineer quickly pulled up data on her computer. "He could be right. Our models assumed all oxygen would stay in gas form, but at these temperatures and pressures, significant amounts could be dissolved in the water vapor." Dr. Chen's eyes narrowed. "How did you spot that?" Matteo shrugged. "My dad explained something similar about car engines once. If there's a leak in the cooling system, gases can get trapped in places they shouldn't be." Dr. Chen didn't look convinced. "It seems unlikely that a child with no training could spot a problem that our team of experts missed." "And yet," Elon said quietly, "he just did. Or at least offered a hypothesis worth testing." Dr. Chen seemed determined to prove Matteo wrong. He began asking increasingly technical questions about gas exchange, chemical reactions, and fluid dynamics. To everyone's surprise, Matteo answered many of them correctly. When he didn't know an answer, he simply said, "I don't know that one." "Where are you getting this information?" Dr. Chen demanded. "These aren't things a fifth grader would know." "From books and videos," Matteo replied, "and my dad's notebooks." "These mysterious notebooks again?" Dr. Chen said skeptically. He turned to Elon. "I'd like to see them," to verify his source of information. Sophia stepped forward protectively. "They're private family possessions, which might contain proprietary information," Dr. Chen countered. Elon held up a hand. "We're getting ahead of ourselves." He turned to the team of engineers. "Test Matteo's hypothesis. See if oxygen is being lost through the water vapor condensation." As the engineers moved to follow his instructions, Elon guided Sophia and Matteo to another part of the habitat. "Your son has an exceptional mind," he said to Sophia. "And exceptional minds need exceptional education and opportunities." "We're doing our best with what we have," Sophia replied, a defensive edge in her voice. "I'm not criticizing," Elon assured her. "I'm offering to help." Before he could explain further, an engineer called out from the oxygen system. Sir, preliminary tests show he's right. There's significant oxygen dissolving in the water condensate. Elon smiled. Of course he is. He looked at Matteo with new respect. You've just helped solve a critical problem for Mars exploration. Matteo beamed, but Dr. Chen still looked suspicious. I'd like to run one more test, Dr. Chen announced. Oh, challenge, if you will. Sophia stepped between Dr. Chen and Matteo. I think my son has answered enough questions for today. This isn't an interrogation, Mrs. Rivera, Dr. Chen said. It's a scientific verification. If Matteo truly understands these principles, rather than just repeating information he's heard, he should be able to solve a new problem. He's 10 years old, Sophia protested. You can't expect him to— It's okay, Mom, Matteo interrupted. I want to try. Elon studied Matteo thoughtfully. Are you sure? Matteo nodded, though his hands were trembling slightly. Very well, Elon said. But let's make it fair. A problem that would challenge a talented engineering student, not a seasoned professional. Dr. Chen seemed to consider this, then nodded. Follow me. He led them to a conference room with a large whiteboard covering one wall. The others filed in behind them. Elon, Sophia, Jasmine, and two other engineers who seemed curious about what was happening. No help, Dr. Chen said firmly, looking at the engineers. No hints? I want to see what the boy can do on his own. He erased the whiteboard and began drawing a diagram. It showed what looked like a power system with solar panels, batteries, and various components connected by lines. This is a simplified version of a power management problem we faced last year, he explained. A Mars rover with limited battery capacity needs to operate through periodic dust storms that reduce solar panel efficiency. He wrote out specific parameters: battery capacity, solar panel output, power requirements for different systems, and expected dust storm duration and intensity. The challenge, Dr. Chen said, capping his marker, is to design a power management algorithm that will keep critical systems running through a dust storm with 80% solar panel efficiency reduction. Sophia looked alarmed. That's college level. Engineering! Precisely, Dr. Chen replied. If Matteo can solve this, it would demonstrate extraordinary ability. If not, he shrugged, then perhaps we've been overestimating his understanding. Matteo stared at the whiteboard, his initial confidence fading. The problem was much more complex than anything he'd tackled before. Take your time, Elon said, noticing Matteo's hesitation. There's no rush. Matteo picked up a marker but didn't immediately start writing. Instead, he studied the diagram, occasionally closing his eyes as if visualizing something. The room was silent except for the soft hum of the air conditioning. Sophia sat tensely in a chair, watching her son. Elon leaned against the wall, his expression unreadable. Dr. Chen stood with his arms crossed, waiting. After several minutes, Matteo began writing. He started with a simple equation for power conservation, then gradually added more variables. Occasionally he would stop, erase something, and try again. At one point, he made a calculation error. Dr. Chen smiled slightly, as if satisfied that the boy was finally stumbling. He's stuck, one of the engineers whispered. But Matteo wasn't giving up. He backtracked, found his mistake, and continued. His small hand moved across the whiteboard, writing equations that seemed beyond his years. Where did he learn calculus? Jasmine asked softly. He taught himself from his father's books, Sophia answered. I don't understand any of it, but he seems to. 20 minutes passed. Matteo had filled half the whiteboard with calculations and small diagrams. Dr. Chen's self-satisfied expression had gradually faded, replaced by reluctant interest in what Mateo was doing. "This approach won't work," Dr. Chen finally said, pointing to a set of equations. "You're assuming linear power degradation during dust storms, but it's actually logarithmic," Mateo finished. "I know. That's why I'm trying something different." I moved to a clear section of the whiteboard and started a new diagram. Instead of trying to maintain all systems at reduced power, his new approach prioritized critical systems and created a dynamic shutdown sequence for non-essential functions. "Smart," Jasmine murmured. "He's triaging the power consumption." Dr. Chen was no longer smiling. He watched intently as Mateo developed his solution, occasionally nodding despite himself. After 45 minutes, Mateo capped his marker and stepped back. "I think this would work. The rover loses navigation and science capabilities during the worst of the storm, but keeps communications and life support at full power. Once the storm begins to clear, systems restart in order of priority." The room was silent as everyone studied his solution. Even Sophia seemed amazed by what her son had done. Dr. Chen examined the whiteboard carefully. Finally, he turned to Elon. "It's not the solution we used, but it would work. Possibly even better in some scenarios." Elon didn't hide his satisfaction. "So you're convinced?" Dr. Chen hesitated, then nodded reluctantly. His approach shows genuine understanding, not memorization. No one could have prepared him specifically for this problem. Mateo's shoulders sagged with relief. He looked exhausted but proud. Sophia went to him and put her arm around his shoulders. "You did amazing." "Mijo." "Yes, he did," Elon agreed. He turned to Dr. Chen. "Any more tests you'd like to run? Or are we satisfied that Mateo has an exceptional mind worthy of exceptional opportunities?" Dr. Chen gave a slight bow of his head, acknowledging defeat. "I'm satisfied." He looked at Mateo with new respect. "You have a remarkable talent, young man." After the others had left the room, Elon sat down across from Mateo and Sophia. "Now that we've established your abilities beyond any doubt, I have a question for you, Mateo. A personal one." Mateo looked up, tired but curious. "What is it?" Elon leaned forward. "What makes you so interested in my companies?" Mateo glanced at his mother, then back at Elon. It was a personal question, one that touched on feelings he usually kept private. "It's because of my dad," he said finally, his voice quiet. "He loved everything about Tesla and SpaceX. He said you were building the future." Elon nodded, encouraging him to continue. "After school, we'd watch videos of rocket launches together." Mateo went on, his eyes brightening at the memory. "When the Falcon Heavy launched with the car in space, Dad took the day off work so we could watch it live. He was so excited he almost cried." Sophia smiled sadly. Antonio had a childlike wonder about space and technology. He passed that on to Mateo. "Dad said humans need dreamers to show what's possible," Mateo continued. "He had a poster of you in his workshop with a quote about making life multiplanetary." Elon looked slightly embarrassed at this, but also touched. "When Dad died," Mateo's voice faltered, "I didn't know what to do. I was sad all the time. Nothing felt important anymore." Sophia reached over and squeezed his hand. "Then I found his notebooks," Mateo continued. "All his ideas and notes about Tesla batteries and SpaceX rockets. He had so many thoughts about how to make things better. Reading them made me feel close to him again. So I started learning everything I could," he explained. "I watched the same videos Dad watched. I read his books. I studied his notes until I understood them. Learning about your companies became your connection to your father. Elon said softly, understanding dawning in his eyes. Matteo nodded, relieved that Elon understood. When Ms. Patel asked us to make science videos, I wanted to do something that would make Dad proud. Something important, like he always talked about. Your battery video, Elon said. Yeah, I didn't think many people would see it. I just wanted to show what I learned from Dad. Matteo looked down at his hands. I didn't mean to cause problems. You didn't cause problems, Elon assured him. You stirred things up, which is sometimes necessary for progress. He leaned back in his chair, studying Matteo with new understanding. Your father sounds like someone I would have enjoyed talking with. He would have loved that more than anything, Sophia said. Meeting you was on his bucket list. An unexpected emotion flickered across Elon's usually controlled face. He was silent for a moment, then spoke in a more personal tone than before. I lost my father too, though in a different way, he said. He was a complicated man, brilliant in some ways, but difficult. Matteo looked surprised that Elon was sharing something so personal. I also found refuge in books and learning, Elon continued. I read everything I could get my hands on. Science, fiction, physics, engineering. Knowledge became my sanctuary. He leaned forward again. People often don't understand that drive. To learn everything. To solve problems others don't even see yet. They think it's strange or obsessive. Dad said people called you crazy when you started SpaceX, Matteo said. Elon smiled slightly. They did. They said a private company couldn't build rockets. Now we launch more than any country. That's what Dad loved about you, Matteo said earnestly. You did things people said were impossible. For a moment, Elon seemed at a loss for words, an unusual state for him. When he spoke again, his voice was softer. Your father passed something valuable to you, Matteo. Not just knowledge, but curiosity and determination. Those are more important than any facts or formulas. Sophia watched this exchange with glistening eyes. Rarely had she seen Matteo open up about his feelings since Antonio died. And she had never expected to see the famous billionaire connecting with her son on such a personal level. What will happen now? She asked. With Matteo's video and everything? Elon considered this. The video stays up. It's good to have young people engaging with these ideas. He paused. But I have a bigger question. What happens with Matteo's education and future? Sophia straightened in her chair. What do you mean? Minds like Matteo's need proper cultivation, Elon said. Regular schools often don't know what to do with exceptional children. We don't have many options in El Paso, Sophia admitted. There's a science magnet program, but the waiting list is long. Elon nodded thoughtfully. I understand the challenges. When I was young in South Africa, I ran out of books to read at my school. I had to find my own path. He pulled out his phone and checked the time. It's getting late. You mentioned needing to return to El Paso tonight. Yes, I have a shift tomorrow. Afternoon, Sophia said. As promised, we'll arrange transportation for you, Elon said, standing up. But before you go, I'd like to make a call about something. Would you mind waiting a few minutes? Of course, Sophia said. Once Elon had left the room, Matteo turned to his mother. Do you think he's still mad about my video? No, mijo. I think he sees something of himself in you, Sophia replied. And that might be a good thing, or complicated. I'm not sure which yet. Jasmine came to escort them to a comfortable waiting area with large windows overlooking the launch pad. As the sun began to set, it cast golden light on the massive Starship rocket. Your son is special, Jasmine told Sophia quietly as Matteo pressed his face against the glass. watching technicians work on the distant rocket. I've never seen Dr. Chen acknowledge defeat like that. Matteo has always been different, Sophia said. Finding the right path for him hasn't been easy, especially without his father. Jasmine nodded sympathetically. I lost my father when I was young too. That's partly why I became an engineer. He loved building things. Before Sophia could respond, the door opened and Elon returned. His expression was decisive, as if he had settled something important in his mind. I've just spoken with some colleagues, he said, and I've made a decision I'd like to discuss with you both. Sophia felt her heartbeat quicken. Whatever Elon was about to say would certainly change their lives. She gestured for Matteo to come stand beside her. I'd like to offer Matteo a place in a new program we're developing, Elon began, a Young Innovators Initiative at SpaceX, where promising students can learn directly from our engineers while continuing their regular education. Matteo's eyes went wide. You mean work at SpaceX? Like for real? Not exactly work, Elon clarified. More like an advanced apprenticeship. You'd attend a partner school for core subjects in the mornings, then spend afternoons here with mentors on special projects. He turned to Sophia. The program has been in development for months, but we haven't announced it publicly yet. Matteo would be among the first participants. Sophia looked stunned. That's a generous offer. But we live in El Paso. That's over 800 miles from here. I understand the logistics are challenging, Elon acknowledged, but I believe Matteo's potential warrants special arrangements. What kind of arrangements? Sophia asked cautiously. SpaceX would provide housing near Starbase for you both. We have company residences for engineers and their families, and we could help you find nursing positions at local hospitals. Sophia shook her head, trying to process this. You want us to move here? Leave our home, my job, Matteo's school and friends? Mom, Matteo whispered, tugging at her sleeve. His eyes were pleading. I know it's a lot to consider, Elon said. You don't need to decide immediately. Take time to think about it. What exactly would Matteo be doing here? Sophia asked. Learning, primarily. Observing our engineers, helping with appropriate projects, developing his own ideas with guidance. Elon looked at Matteo. The same things you've been doing on your own, but with professional support and resources. Would I get to work on rockets? Matteo asked eagerly. Eventually, yes. We'd start with smaller projects related to your interests. Battery technology, energy systems, maybe some software development, if that appeals to you. Sophia still looked overwhelmed. This is so unexpected. I have a steady job in El Paso, family nearby, our apartment. I understand your concerns, Elon said. Moving is disruptive, but sometimes exceptional circumstances call for exceptional decisions. He paused, choosing his words carefully. I don't often do this, Mrs. Rivera, but I see something rare in your son. Not just intelligence, but creativity and determination. Those qualities should be nurtured. Matteo was practically vibrating with excitement, but remained silent, watching. His mother, anxiously. There's more to consider than just the opportunity, Sophia said slowly. There's our life in El Paso, Matteo's friends, my sister who helps watch him when I work night shifts. All valid considerations, Elon agreed. Family support is important. And the cost of living here? Housing prices? Schools? Sophia continued, her practical nature asserting itself. Sarah, who had joined them, stepped forward. I can provide detailed information on all those points. We've prepared a complete package explaining the program, housing arrangements, local schools, and potential employment opportunities for you. She handed Sophia a folder. Everything is covered: housing, healthcare, education. We want to remove practical barriers so Matteo can focus on learning and development. Sophia took the folder but didn't open it. This is a life-changing decision. We would need time. Of course, Elon said. Take a week to consider it. Talk it over with your family. Can I think about it on the way home? Matteo asked, looking at the Starship rocket through the window. Sophia smiled despite her concerns. Her son's passion was undeniable. Yes, we can. Discuss it on the way home. Speaking of which, Sarah said, your flight to El Paso is scheduled in 2 hours. We should leave for the airfield soon. As they gathered their things, Elon pulled Sophia aside. One more thing. If you decide to accept, I'd still be very interested in seeing Antonio's notebooks. Not to take them, just to understand his thinking. Sophia nodded slowly. If we decide to come, I'll bring them. They were his treasure. Thank you. Elon turned to Matteo. It was impressive meeting you, Matteo Rivera. Whatever you and your mother decide, keep asking questions and solving problems. I will, Matteo promised. Thank you for not being mad about my video. That brought a genuine smile to Elon's face. Your video woke up some of my engineers, who were getting too comfortable. That's always valuable. A Tesla was waiting to take them to the small private airfield where a company plane would fly them back to El Paso. As they drove away from Starbase, Matteo pressed his face against the window, watching the Starship rocket grow smaller in the distance. What do you think, Mom? He finally asked. Could we really move here? Sophia put her arm around his shoulders. I don't know yet, mijo. It's a big change. But it's what Dad would have wanted, Matteo said quietly. He always said I should reach for the stars. Your father wanted what was best for you, Sophia corrected gently. And that's what I want too. We need to figure out what that is. As the Tesla sped toward the airfield, Sophia stared out at the Texas landscape, her mind racing with questions. Could she leave her secure job? What about her sister and the support network they had built? Was this opportunity too good to pass up or too risky to accept? And what about Matteo? Would this strange new world of genius engineers and billionaires be good for a sensitive boy still grieving his father? Or would it push him too hard, too fast? By the time they boarded the small plane, Matteo had fallen asleep, exhausted from the day's emotional and mental challenges. Sophia sat beside him, the information folder in her lap, facing the biggest decision of their lives since Antonio's death. The plane touched down in El Paso just after 9 p.m. Sophia gently shook Matteo awake as they taxied to a stop. We're home, mijo, she said softly. Matteo blinked sleepily. I had a dream that Elon Musk offered me a job at SpaceX, Sophia smiled. That wasn't a dream. But it's not exactly a job. It's a special program. Reality came flooding back to Matteo, and he sat up straight. So it really happened? We might move to Starbase? We might, Sophia emphasized. We have a lot to talk about first. The next morning, Sophia called in to request a day off from the hospital. She needed time to think, to process everything that had happened. While Matteo was at school, she opened the folder Sarah had given her and spread the contents across their small kitchen table. The program details were impressive. Matteo would attend a private STEM-focused school in the mornings, then spend afternoons at SpaceX working with mentors. The housing offered was a modern 2-bedroom apartment in a complex, built for SpaceX employees. There was information about hospitals in Brownsville where Sophia could apply, with salaries higher than what she currently earned. It seemed too good to be true. which made Sophia suspicious. When Matteo came home from school, he was bursting with excitement, having told his teacher, Ms. Patel, about their adventure. "She wants to talk to you," Matteo said, handing Sophia a note with the teacher's phone number. That evening, after Matteo had gone to bed, Sophia called Ms. Patel. "Matteo told me about the opportunity at SpaceX," Ms. Patel said after they exchanged greetings. "I'm not surprised Elon Musk was impressed with him." "You're not?" Sophia asked. "Not at all. In 20 years of teaching, I've never had a student like Matteo. His mind works differently. He sees connections other people miss." "But is this SpaceX program the right thing for him?" Sophia asked. Moving away from friends and family, being around adults all day? "That's a tough question," Ms. Patel acknowledged. "But I can tell you this. Matteo is already bored in school. He completes our most advanced work in minutes, then has nothing to do. I've been giving him high school-level problems just to keep him engaged." She paused. "Children like Matteo need special environments to thrive. If I'm honest, our school simply can't provide what his mind needs." After the call, Sophia sat on the couch, thinking. Ms. Patel's words had hit home. She had noticed Matteo losing interest in school lately, rushing through homework to get back to his projects. The next day, Sophia visited her sister Elena, who lived across town with her husband and 2 children. "They want you to move to Boca Chica?" Elena exclaimed after hearing the story. "That's so far away." "I know," Sophia sighed, "but this could be an amazing opportunity for Matteo." Elena frowned. "What about your job, your apartment, our Sunday dinners?" "All things I've been thinking about," Sophia admitted. "But then I think about what Antonio would say." Elena's expression softened at the mention of her late brother-in-law. "He would tell you to go," she said quietly. "He always believed Matteo was destined for something special." "But I'm scared, Elena. What if it doesn't work out? What if Matteo can't handle the pressure?" "Then you come back," Elena said simply. "We'll still be here. Your job might take you back. Life will go on." On Friday afternoon, Sophia picked Matteo up from school and found him surrounded by classmates. Word had spread about his meeting with Elon Musk, transforming him overnight from the weird smart kid to a minor celebrity. "Leon says I'm going to be famous," Matteo told Sophia as they walked home. "He says I shouldn't forget him when I'm rich." Sophia laughed. "Is that what you want? To be rich and famous?" Matteo thought about this. "No," he said finally. "I want to build things that matter. Like Dad wanted to. Like Elon does." That evening, Matteo's best friend Leon came over to play video games. Sophia overheard their conversation from the kitchen. "You're so lucky," Leon said. "You're going to work with actual rockets." "We haven't decided yet," Matteo reminded him. "Mom's still thinking about it. But you want to go, right?" There was a pause. "Yeah, I really do," Matteo admitted. "But I'll miss you, and Ms. Patel, and El Paso." "We can video chat," Leon said. "And maybe I can visit sometime." "That would be awesome," Matteo agreed. "We could watch a rocket launch together." Later, after Leon had gone home, Sophia found Matteo sitting on his bed, looking at a photo of his father. It had been taken at White Sands Missile Range during a rare public tour. Antonio stood grinning in front of a rocket display, his arm around a 6-year-old Matteo. "That was a good day," Sophia said, sitting beside him. "Dad talked about rockets the whole drive home." Matteo remembered with a smile. "You pretended to be annoyed, but you were smiling." Sophia laughed softly. "I loved his enthusiasm, even when I didn't understand half of what he was talking about." They sat in comfortable silence for a moment. both lost in memories. "I've been thinking a lot about this decision," Sophia finally said, "about SpaceX and moving." Matteo looked up at her, holding his breath. "It would be a big change," she continued. "We'd be far from family. You'd have to make new friends. I'd have to find a new job." "I know," Matteo said, his voice small. "It's a lot to ask." "But," Sophia took a deep breath, "I think we should do it." Matteo's eyes widened. "Really? We're going to move to Starbase?" Sophia nodded. "Your father always said that when great opportunities appear, you have to be brave enough to take them." Matteo threw his arms around her neck. "Thank you, Mom." "Thank you." "It won't be easy," she warned. "There will be hard days. We'll miss home." "I know," Matteo said, "but we'll have each other." The next morning, Sophia called the number Sarah had provided. After a brief conversation, she hung up and turned to Matteo, who was watching anxiously. "Well, it's official," she said. "I just accepted Elon's offer. We move in 3 weeks." Matteo whooped with joy, dancing around the kitchen. As Sophia began making a list of everything they needed to do, notify the school, give notice at her job, start packing, her phone buzzed with a message. It was from Sarah. "Elon is pleased with your decision. He's looking forward to seeing both you and Antonio's notebooks at Starbase." Sophia glanced at Matteo, who was already making his own list of books and projects to bring. She hadn't told him about Elon's interest in his father's notebooks. There was something about it that made her uneasy, though she couldn't say exactly why. The next 3 weeks passed in a whirlwind of activity. Sophia gave notice at the hospital, where her supervisor was sad to see her go, but understood the opportunity was too good to pass up. Matteo's school arranged a small goodbye party, where even kids who had once teased him now asked for his autograph, in case you get famous. Packing their apartment was bittersweet. They didn't own much, but each item held memories. Sophia carefully packed Antonio's books and notebooks into a special box that she kept separate from the moving company's containers. "Are you bringing Dad's notebooks to SpaceX?" Matteo asked, noticing her caution. "Eventually," Sophia replied vaguely, "but they're precious to us. I want to keep them safe." The truth was more complicated. Sophia had started reading through Antonio's notebooks again, trying to understand why Elon would be so interested in them. Most contained the thoughts of a curious, self-taught engineer, detailed but not revolutionary. But a few later notebooks, ones that Matteo hadn't spent as much time with, contained more advanced ideas about battery technology that even Sophia could tell were unusual. One notebook in particular, dated from the year before Antonio died, contained detailed drawings of battery cooling systems remarkably similar to what Matteo had described in his video. Sophia hadn't shown this notebook to Matteo yet, unsure of what to make of it herself. The day before they were to leave, Elena and her family came to help with final packing and to say goodbye. "I still can't believe my nephew is going to be working with Elon Musk," Elena's husband Marco said, ruffling Matteo's hair. "It's not exactly working," Matteo corrected. "It's a special program for learning." "Still amazing," Marco insisted. "Your dad would be bursting with pride." While the kids played, in Matteo's now empty room, Elena pulled Sophia aside. "Are you sure about this?" she asked quietly. "It's not too late to change your mind." "I'm nervous," Sophia admitted. "But yes, I'm sure. This is what Antonio would want for Matteo." Elena nodded slowly. "What about these notebooks Matteo mentioned? The ones Elon is interested in?" Sophia hesitated. "I don't know. There's something strange about them, or at least about Elon's interest in them. But I can't put my finger on it. Maybe Antonio knew more than he let on," Elena suggested. "He was always reading those technical papers. taking online courses. Maybe, Sophia agreed. I just wish I understood why it matters to Elon Musk. That night, after everyone had left, Sophia found Matteo sitting on his sleeping bag in his empty room. Scared? She asked, sitting beside him. He nodded. A little. What if I'm not smart enough? What if the other kids don't like me? You are more than smart enough, Sophia assured him. And people who take the time to know you always end up liking you. Do you think Dad would be happy about this? Matteo asked softly. Absolutely, Sophia replied without hesitation. He always wanted you to reach your full potential, and he would be amazed that you're going to work at SpaceX. Matteo smiled at that. I still can't believe it's real. Neither can I, Sophia admitted with a laugh. But tomorrow, we start our new adventure. Early the next morning, a sleek black SUV arrived to take them to the airport. Their few belongings had already been shipped ahead to their new apartment at Starbase. All they carried were 2 suitcases and Sophia's special box of Antonio's notebooks. At the El Paso airport, they were surprised to find they weren't taking a commercial flight. Instead, they were escorted to a private terminal where a small SpaceX jet waited. This is just for us, Matteo asked in awe as they boarded. Mr. Musk arranged it, the pilot explained. Welcome to the SpaceX family. The flight to Brownsville was quick and smooth. When they landed, Jasmine was waiting for them. Welcome home, she said with a warm smile. Ready to see your new place? Their new apartment was in a modern complex built specifically for SpaceX employees. It was larger than their place in El Paso, with 2 bedrooms, a spacious living area, and a small balcony with a distant view of the launch facilities. This is all for us? Matteo asked, running from room to room. All for you, Jasmine confirmed. And there's a surprise in your room. Matteo rushed to the second bedroom and let out a gasp. The room was fully furnished with a bed, desk, bookshelves, and a computer setup that would make any engineer jealous. On the wall hung a large signed photo of a Falcon Heavy launch with a note from Elon. To Matteo, welcome to the team that's building the future. Mom, look at this, Matteo called out, his eyes wide. Sophia was touched by the thoughtfulness. Whatever uncertainties she had about Elon's interest in Antonio's notebooks, it was clear he was genuinely invested in making Matteo feel welcome. Jasmine gave them time to settle in, explaining that Matteo would start school on Monday with his first afternoon. At SpaceX the same day. Elon wants to meet with you both tomorrow morning, she added before leaving, to officially welcome you. That evening, as they unpacked their few personal items, Sophia noticed how quiet Matteo had become. Having second thoughts? She asked gently. No, he said, looking out the window toward the distant launch pads. Just thinking about how different everything is now. It's like we're in a different world. We are, in some ways, Sophia agreed. But we're still us. That hasn't changed. Later, after Matteo had gone to bed, Sophia unpacked Antonio's notebooks and spread them on the kitchen counter. She had decided to show them to Elon as promised, but she wanted to review them once more first. As she flipped through pages of Antonio's neat handwriting, technical drawings, and equations, she felt a renewed sense of loss. He had been so brilliant in his own quiet way, teaching himself complex concepts while working as a mechanic. One particular page caught her attention, a detailed battery design dated 6 years ago. Beneath it, Antonio had written, "Submitted to Tesla today," hoping for a response this time. Sophia stared at the note, her heart beating faster. Had Antonio tried to contact Tesla before? Had he submitted ideas to them? And if so, what had happened to those submissions? The next morning, as they prepared to meet with Elon, Sophia tucked the most relevant notebooks into her bag. She still didn't know why he was so interested in them, but she was beginning to have suspicions of her own, suspicions that both excited and worried her. Jasmine arrived to escort them to Elon's office at exactly 9 a.m. Mateo wore his best clothes, ATV, button-up shirt, and khaki pants that Sophia had bought for the occasion. He fidgeted nervously with his collar as they walked through the SpaceX facility. "You look very professional," Jasmine told him with a smile. "Do you think Mr. Musk will like me?" Mateo asked softly. "He already does," Jasmine assured him. "That's why you're here." They passed through areas where engineers were working on rocket components, computer designs, and testing equipment. Everyone seemed focused and busy, though several people smiled or waved at Mateo, already recognizing him from his viral video. Elon's office was surprisingly simple: a glass-walled room with a desk, some chairs, and whiteboards covered in diagrams and equations. He greeted them warmly, looking more relaxed than during their first meeting. "Welcome to your first official day," he said. "How's the apartment?" "It's amazing," Mateo gushed. "Thank you for the computer and the signed photo." "You're welcome," Elon replied. "I thought you might appreciate a proper workstation." As they sat down, Dr. Chen entered the room. He nodded politely to Sophia and Mateo, his earlier suspicion seemingly replaced by professional courtesy. "Dr. Chen will be overseeing part of Mateo's program," Elon explained, "particularly the energy systems components. I've arranged a curriculum that should challenge you appropriately," Dr. Chen told Mateo. "We'll start with fundamentals and progress to more advanced concepts." While they discussed the details of Mateo's schedule, mornings at the local STEM academy, afternoons at different SpaceX departments, Sophia noticed Elon glancing occasionally at her bag, where Antonio's notebooks were visible. After Dr. Chen left to prepare for Mateo's first session, Elon turned to Sophia. "Did you bring the notebooks we discussed?" Sophia nodded, placing 3 of Antonio's journals on the desk. "These contain most of his thoughts on battery technology." Elon picked up the top notebook, opening it carefully. His expression remained neutral as he flipped through the pages, but his eyes moved quickly, absorbing the information. "Mateo, would you like to see our mission control room?" Jasmine asked. "They're monitoring a satellite deployment today." Mateo looked eagerly at Sophia, who nodded her permission. Once they had left, the room fell silent, except for the sound of pages turning, as Elon continued examining the notebooks. "Your husband had an impressive understanding of battery chemistry," he finally said, looking up at Sophia. "Especially for someone without formal engineering training." "Antonio was always learning," Sophia replied. "But there's something I need to ask you." She pulled out the notebook with the note about Tesla submissions. "Did my husband ever contact Tesla with his ideas?" Elon's expression changed subtly. He set down the notebook he was holding and took the one Sophia offered. "I don't know," he said honestly, finding the page with Antonio's note. "Tesla receives thousands of submissions. I don't personally review most of them." "But you're interested in them now," Sophia pointed out. "Why?" Elon was quiet for a moment, seemingly deciding how much to say. "When I saw Mateo's video, something about his approach seemed familiar. Not just the technical aspects, but the way he thought about the problems." He tapped the notebooks. "Now I can see why. He learned from his father's work." "There's more to it than that," Sophia pressed. "These ideas, are they valuable to Tesla?" "Some of them, yes," Elon admitted, particularly his cooling channel designs. "They're remarkably similar to approaches we've been developing." Sophia felt a mix of pride and unease. So, when Matteo made his video, he wasn't just sharing random ideas, he was sharing his father's work. Work that might have been submitted to Tesla years ago. Elon nodded slowly. It appears so, and that raises some interesting questions. Before they could continue, the door opened and Dr. Chen returned with several tablets. He stopped short when he saw the notebooks spread on the desk. "Are these the source materials?" he asked, his earlier suspicion returning. "Antonio Rivera's engineering journals," Elon confirmed. "Matteo's father." Dr. Chen picked up one and began scanning the pages. His eyebrows rose higher with each page turn. "These designs," he said, pointing to a diagram, "they're almost identical to the prototypes we were testing last year." "Yes," Elon agreed. "I noticed that as well." Dr. Chen looked up at Sophia. "Did your husband work in battery development? Perhaps for a competitor?" "No," Sophia said firmly. "He was a mechanic at a garage in El Paso, but he studied engineering in his spare time. He submitted ideas to Tesla, apparently, though I only just discovered that." Dr. Chen exchanged a significant look with Elon. "We should search the submission archives. If he sent these designs through official channels." Elon nodded. "Have Sarah check the records for any submissions from Antonio Rivera, going back 10 years. After Dr. Chen left to make the call, Sophia leaned forward. "What's going on? Why is this so important?" "If Antonio submitted these designs to Tesla, and they were somehow overlooked or misplaced," Elon explained carefully, "and if we later independently developed similar technology, there could be complications." "You mean legal issues?" Sophia asked. "Patents? Potentially," Elon acknowledged. "But more importantly, it would mean your husband made significant contributions to battery technology that were never recognized." Sophia sat back, processing this. "Is that why you brought us here? Because you discovered Antonio's ideas in Matteo's video and wanted to... what? Make amends?" "I brought you here because Matteo has extraordinary potential," Elon insisted. "That remains true, regardless of his father's work. But yes, when I saw the similarities, I became curious about the source." The door opened again, and Dr. Chen returned with Jasmine and Matteo, whose eyes were wide with excitement from seeing mission control. "They're tracking the satellite in real time," Matteo exclaimed. "And they let me ask questions about the orbit, calculations." His enthusiasm faded as he noticed the serious expressions on the adults' faces. "Is something wrong?" Before anyone could answer, Sarah entered the room, holding a tablet. "I found something," she said to Elon. There were indeed submissions from Antonio Rivera, dating back 7 years. 3 separate proposals for battery cooling systems. She hesitated. They were all flagged for review, but there's no record of any follow-up. They appear to have been misplaced during the company's early growth period. The room fell silent. Matteo looked confused. "Dad sent ideas to Tesla?" Sophia nodded slowly. "It seems he did, mijo. Ideas that were very similar to what you talked about in your video." Matteo's eyes widened with understanding. "So, when I made my video, I was really sharing Dad's ideas? The ones Tesla lost?" Dr. Chen was examining the tablet Sarah had brought. "The submission dates precede our internal development of similar systems," he noted, his voice tight with professional concern. "This could be problematic." "What does that mean?" Matteo asked, looking worried. Jasmine had been reviewing the notebooks and looking increasingly troubled. She caught Elon's eye and pointed to something in Antonio's writings. Elon took the notebook, read the indicated page, and his expression changed dramatically. "What is it?" Sophia asked, alarmed by Elon's sudden change in expression. Instead of answering immediately, Elon turned the notebook toward Dr. Chen, who read it quickly and looked up in shock. "This can't be right," Dr. Chen said. "Check the employment records." Sarah tapped rapidly on her tablet. After a moment, she looked up, her eyes wide. "It's true! Antonio Rivera worked at Tesla for 6 months in 2016 under the name Tony Rivers. He was part of the early battery development team in Nevada." Sophia gasped. "What? That's impossible! Antonio was a mechanic in El Paso. He never worked at Tesla." "According to these records," Sarah continued, "he left suddenly, citing family reasons. There's a note that he was returning to El Paso for a family emergency." Mateo looked confused. "Dad worked for Tesla? But he never told us." Sophia's mind was racing. 2016. That was when my father was very sick. Antonio did leave for several months to take a higher-paying job. He said it was at an auto plant in Nevada. She shook her head in disbelief. "He told me the job didn't work out, and he came back when my father's condition worsened." "Why wouldn't he tell us he worked at Tesla?" Mateo asked, his voice small and hurt. Jasmine had been reading more of the notebook. According to his notes here, he felt his ideas weren't being taken seriously. He writes that the department was chaotic, with too many projects and not enough structure. His proposals kept getting shuffled around without proper review. "Those were difficult early days," Elon admitted. "We were scaling up quickly, sometimes too quickly. Good ideas could get lost in the shuffle, especially from newer employees." Sophia was still trying to process this revelation. "So Antonio actually worked for you? He wasn't just sending in ideas from the outside?" "Apparently so," Elon confirmed. "And it seems when he left, his work was filed away and forgotten. Later, similar solutions were independently developed by our teams. But Dad never told anyone," Mateo said, still struggling to understand. "Why would he keep it a secret?" Sophia thought back to that time. He was so excited when he left for that job. When he came back, he seemed deflated, like something had gone wrong. He never wanted to talk about those months. His notes suggest he was deeply disappointed, Jasmine said gently, showing them a page where Antonio had written, "No point continuing here. Better to return home where I'm needed and work on my ideas independently. Maybe someday they'll recognize their value." Dr. Chen was examining the dates in Antonio's notebooks and comparing them with Tesla's development timeline on his tablet. "His cooling channel design predates our current system by at least 3 years, he said, looking troubled, "and the solutions are remarkably similar." "So, what does this mean?" Sophia asked. "For Mateo's program here? For us?" Elon was quiet for a moment, seemingly deep in thought. Finally, he turned to Mateo. "It means your father was a brilliant engineer whose ideas were ahead of their time. Ideas that you understood well enough to explain and improve upon in your video." He turned to Dr. Chen. "We need to review all of Antonio's work and properly credit his contributions." Dr. Chen nodded, his earlier suspicion completely gone. "I'll assemble a team immediately. We should document everything in these notebooks that relates to our current technology." Sophia watched this exchange with mixed emotions: pride in her husband's brilliance, sadness that he had died without recognition, anger that his work had been overlooked, and confusion about why he had kept his Tesla employment a secret. "I still don't understand," she said. "If Antonio worked here, why did you act surprised by Mateo's video? Wouldn't you have recognized the name Rivera?" "I don't personally know every employee who's ever worked at Tesla," Elon explained, "especially someone who was only there briefly years ago and used a slightly different name. It wasn't until I saw the specific technical approaches in Matteo's video that something seemed familiar. Matteo had been unusually quiet, processing all these revelations about his father. "So, when I made that video," he said slowly, "I wasn't just sharing random ideas. I was sharing Dad's actual work that he did at Tesla." "Yes," Elon confirmed, "work that should have been recognized long ago." Matteo looked up at his mother, his eyes shining with tears and pride. "Dad really was as smart as I thought he was. Even smarter," Sophia said softly, blinking back her own tears. The room fell silent as everyone absorbed the magnitude of what they had discovered. Antonio Rivera, a seemingly ordinary mechanic from El Paso, had actually been Tony Rivers, a briefly employed Tesla engineer whose innovative ideas had somehow been lost in the company's chaotic early growth. After a moment, Elon stood. "I need to make some calls. This changes things." "Changes what?" Sophia asked, concerned. "Nothing about Matteo's program," Elon assured her. "That remains exactly as planned. But we need to properly acknowledge Antonio's contributions. It's the right thing to do." Over the next few hours, as Matteo began his first official day of the program with Jasmine, Sophia met with Tesla's legal team. They explained that Antonio's work would be thoroughly reviewed, and any of his innovations that had made their way into current Tesla products would be properly attributed to him posthumously. There will likely be some form of compensation as well, the head lawyer explained. "If his designs are indeed being used in our current battery systems." Sophia felt overwhelmed. He never cared about money. He just wanted his ideas to matter. "And now they will," the lawyer assured her, "with full credit." That evening, when Sophia and Matteo returned to their apartment, they sat together on the balcony, watching the distant lights of Starbase. "I can't believe Dad actually worked for Tesla," Matteo said. "All those times he talked about Elon Musk and SpaceX and Tesla, he was talking about a place he actually worked." "I think the experience affected him deeply," Sophia said. "Being hired by a company he admired so much, and then feeling like his ideas weren't being heard. It must have been crushing." "But now everyone knows," Matteo said. "His ideas weren't forgotten after all." "Because of you," Sophia told him, putting her arm around his shoulders. "Your video brought his work back to light. You made sure your father's legacy wasn't lost." The next morning, they arrived at SpaceX to find Elon waiting with an announcement. He gathered a small group including Dr. Chen, Jasmine, and several key engineers. After reviewing Antonio Rivera's notebooks and our own records, Elon began. "We've confirmed that several of his designs from 2016 form the basis of technologies we're currently using in our battery systems. Technologies that his son Matteo independently understood and highlighted in his viral video." He looked directly at Matteo. "Tesla will be implementing the improved version of your father's battery cooling system, with full credit to Antonio Rivera as the original inventor." He paused. "And we'll be listing Matteo Rivera as co-inventor, the youngest person ever acknowledged on a Tesla patent." Matteo's mouth fell open in shock as Elon continued. "Your father's work was overlooked once. We won't let that happen again. And through you, his legacy will continue." Where are you listening from today? I'd love to know in the comments below. If you enjoyed this emotional journey of Matteo, Sophia, and how a child's viral video led to his father's forgotten legacy being discovered, please hit that like button and subscribe to the channel. Every week, I bring you captivating stories that blend real-world figures with imaginative scenarios that make you think and feel. Don't forget to share this video with friends and family who might enjoy it too. Sharing stories is one of the best ways to spread kindness and awareness. Thanks for listening, and I'll see you in the next video.